All righty. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Off to a slightly later start than usual. Um, perhaps much like the Knicks tonight. Knicks lose their game against the Boston Celtics, the first ever in-season tournament consolation game. So they bear that notable distinction. 133 to 123. A final score that may or may not be a bit deceiving. We'll get back to that in a minute. Couple things I want to get out of the way before I hit on some bigger stuff in regards to this game and about the season as a whole, because I feel like it's warranted. For one, it was a starting lineup change tonight. For anybody who may have missed the game, Quentin Grimes out, Dante Vincenzo in. Long story short, because I'm sure we're going to talk about it throughout the night, I don't think it had any impact on the final outcome of this game. I thought, if anything, it helped them stay pretty close in the first half because Grimes' minutes were excellent. It's the best Grimes has looked probably since the Bucks game. Not the last one, the one before that, where he hit, I think he was like 5 of 10 from 3. Seemed to revitalize Grimes. He had, it wasn't a perfect game from Quentin Grimes, but it was easily like the most he's looked like Quentin Grimes all season. As far as DiVincenzo in the starting 5, I thought he was fine. Was he the reason that their defense was what it was tonight? No. Not saying it had no impact, but it wasn't because of that. Their defensive performance was not because of that rotation switch. So that's the first thing. Second thing, a couple injury notes. First of all, Mitchell Robinson reportedly seen going into the X-ray room at halftime. Hartenstein started the second half. Mitch came in, played for a bit, didn't look great, came out, and I think Hartenstein played the final, I don't know how many exactly minutes of this game. Mitch played 19 total minutes, Hartenstein 29. It felt like Hartenstein played the entire fourth quarter, maybe a little bit at the end of the third as well. I honestly don't remember, but bears watching. And then in the final minute of this one, when the game was when the game was no longer in question, the result was no longer in question, Jalen Brunson stepped back on some Celtic player's ankle as someone was taking a free throw. Seemed to twist his ankle. Didn't look terrible, but he came up obviously in a lot of pain and hobbling. As I'm sitting here, 10 minutes after the game ended, I have no insight onto how severe the injury is. I'm sure it'll come up that he shouldn't have been in the game. It is what it is. Shouldn't have been in the game, but we've been here before, sadly. So hopefully he'll be fine and good to go for the Toronto game on Monday. All right, now let's zoom out. We'll still stick with the game, but like kind of bigger picture stuff. I think how you take this game and how you take the in-season tournament results in general is sort of, and I have used this term before, is a Rorschach test for how you view this team. If you came into the season thinking, and over the course of their start to the season, were emboldened to believe that this is a wolf in sheep's clothing, that nobody's talking about them as a contender, but they really are kind of a quiet sleeper contender of some kind, then I imagine that the last 2 games have been massively disappointing. And that's actually not even a strong enough word. I'm sure you're like, what the fuck? What has happened to this basketball team that I thought was very good and now I think is not very good? And I think if you're someone that thought like, okay, this is a good team, it's a very good team that is decidedly outside the inner circle of contenders in the NBA, you probably watched these 2 games with a little bit more of a forgiving eye. I mean, and we're getting to the defense very soon, but like there was a point in this game where the Celtics were just like doing what the Celtics do, and there's a reason why I said before the season I thought the Celtics were going to win 60-plus games. I was convinced they would have the best record in basketball during the regular season. Like you saw why tonight. When they get going, it's just they are a fucking bear to stop. And the Bucks, to their credit, were a bear to stop, especially when they were hitting threes. And the Celtics, they ended up tonight hitting 19 of 47 for a 40% clip. It was actually more impressive than that during the relevant portion of the game. They were hanging around like 46, 47, 48% until I think the start of the fourth quarter. And it was just like, it did look effortless at times. And the Knicks, and to say nothing of what the Celtics were able to do on the other end, the fact that the Knicks put up 123 points tonight is actually pretty impressive against what I think at full strength was probably the best defense in the NBA, Boston. So that's the thing that I wanted to open with. Now, with all that being said, even if you are in the second camp, which I kind of am in, it was difficult to watch this game and the Milwaukee game from the perspective of like, we should be able to hang with these teams at the very least. And yes, this gets into, well, did they hang with the Celtics tonight? This was a 7-point game with about 6 minutes left to go. Six and change. I think they got it to 119 and 112. And then they proceeded to go the next 3.5 minutes without scoring a basket. You figure they keep the offense, they keep the foot on the gas during that stretch. Maybe, who knows, this actually is a game with real crunch time minutes. So like, I do want to honor that because, like, look, a 7-point game with 6.5 minutes to go, you can't, it is what it is. You can't really fake it. It's not like they were down by a billion and then the Celtics took their foot off the gas. Like, they hung around. They hung around just enough and they made a little run and it ended up being all for naught. But like, even putting that out there, the feeling of this game, the feeling you had as a Knicks fan watching this game was like, man, we're not in this game. We're not going to win this game. This is not a game where we have any business of winning. And they didn't have any business of winning this game. Because they got ran roughshod over on defense. And again, it's impossible to have, like, people are going to be, the effort wasn't there. And I'm sure all the Knicks at their lockers and Thibodeau was going to say, well, it's on us. We have to try harder. It has to mean more for us. And we have to put our pride on the line. That is part of it. It is a big part of it. But I also feel like I cannot disentangle that part of it from the larger concept, for me at least, of like, this team has one way of playing defense, and it is they do not switch their fives. They want their fives to be able to hang back close to the basket, and they'll switch everything else, but they are going to do everything in their power to not switch their fives. And when you play that way and you don't just have a defense that can pivot to a switch everything defense, and you face a team like this that is capable of what this team is doing and the Bucks as well, and that team is on and that team is firing on all cylinders, you can get made to look really stupid. And they got made to look really stupid tonight, and they got made to look really stupid against the Bucks the other night. And there is this chicken or egg question is like, well, if the effort was higher, then the Celtics and Bucks would have never gotten comfortable, and then they would have never done that. But then you go back to like, well, in order for this scheme to work, and this is what I'm sure Thibodeau would say, he may say it in front of a mic, he may say it privately. Anytime you ask him about any scheme question, he always is going to have the same response. Was the execution there, and was the effort there? And this scheme can work. We've seen it work. Recently, we've seen it work. But for it to work, you have to have maximum execution and maximum effort across the board on defense, because other than your center, who may be hurt now, you don't have any particularly gifted, like really gifted defenders anywhere else on the court. And I say that with all due respect to Quentin Grimes, who's a really nice young defender, got bullied several times tonight by bigger guards and wings that just took him into the post like it was nothing. And with all due respect to Josh Hart, who is, again, very good at what he does, but he is nobody's idea of a wing stopper. This team does not have a single plus defender on the roster. They are a small, other than Mitchell Robinson, they are a small team on the perimeter. They are built with a lot of guards. So in order for this defensive scheme to work, you need to have maximum effort. So when you play a team like this, again, or like the Bucks, or one of the very few handful of teams that have this capability of having this level of firepower, you watch a game like this, you're like, well, they don't give a shit. They're not trying. No, it's not that they're not trying. If they gave the same level of effort against 20 to 25 other teams in the league tonight, they're at the very least they're in the game down the stretch. And I would say, given how well they executed on offense for the vast majority of this game, they probably win it. But that's not this team. That's this is Boston. The other night it was Milwaukee. There are other teams of this level, and that gets to the bigger picture and why I think people are really frustrated, which is like these games are a reminder that we as the Knicks have to be perfect in order to be on the same court with these teams when these teams are like even in the vicinity of their peak performance. And a lot of the time we're just going to look like we don't belong on the same court as them, because that's the difference between a contender and a non-contender in the NBA. And it is incredibly frustrating, and it does make you feel like, man, they're not trying hard enough. And again, they did not try hard enough tonight. I'm not trying to excuse that. The effort was not there, the requisite amount. But again, the reason the effort has to be there to that degree every night for them to have a chance, not every night, for them to have a chance against this level of team is because they just don't have a defense equipped to deal with that level of firepower. And yes, it is specifically to a large extent with a stretch five. It makes a big difference, but also just like forget the stretch five, forget the Porzingis of it all or the Brook Lopez of it all. The Milwaukee and Boston, what they've assembled on offense with the amount of guys that they have that can pass at a high level or an elite level, shoot at a high level or an elite level, and move with the ball at a high level at an elite level. It's just, I don't want to shit on the scheme or shit on the way they play defense, because go find me a defense in the NBA, say for maybe Minnesota, that is just going to be able to walk on the court against these elite offenses and be like, yep, we got this. Those don't exist anymore. This isn't the NBA of 20 years ago or even 15 or 10 years ago. So it's like I'm kind of at a loss. Yes, try harder. Hope they miss some shots next time. But like, what are you going to do? And yes, within that conversation, there are a handful or maybe more than a handful of more glaring examples of defense tonight where it's like, come on, guys, what the fuck are you doing? And you know what? In a game they lost by 10, maybe those handful of possessions are actually the difference in the game. Which again adds to the frustration. Offense was not the problem. I don't want to hear that offense was the problem. Again, you score 122 points against, I would argue, the best defense, or one of very least one of the best defenses in the league. Like, they were doing a lot of good things. Was it perfect? No. Is it ever perfect? No. Was Julius, did he go back to being bad Julius in the third quarter especially? Yes. I'm not going to shit on Julius tonight. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that do, because what is a more fun pastime for Knicks fans than shitting on Julius Randle? If you want to have at it, have at it. I'm not going to do it. And I guess the last thing I'll say, and this goes to the defensive effort question thing, but it really goes to the larger picture. And a lot of people have said different versions of this, that there is just something about the team this year that feels a little off. And I agree with that. And, last year, a missed, that utter disaster against the Mavs at home when Tibbs told confidants, or at least one confidant, that he thought he was going to get fired. Like, they found something in that, what ended up being an 8-game winning streak. They found something. They found a grit. They found a toughness that they did not possess beforehand. And then when they traded for Josh Hart, then that was the spark. That was the spark that ignited the fire that carried them into the second round of the playoffs. I wonder what is going to provide that spark, because I don't see a trade coming in the next couple months. They made the lineup move tonight. That didn't really do it. Like, they're just kind of, you watch them and you're like, man, this team went to another gear last year and they have not gone to that gear this year. So yeah, I do wonder about that. What can what can get them to that gear? I'm not really worried about how they'll be fine moving forward. I know it's a tough month of December. They do have to play better, but like again, this is I get it. It's an incredibly frustrating night. I'm frustrated. I know it may not seem like it. This was I can't tell you how frustrating this viewing experience was for me. It was very frustrating. And then you look up and you're like, we lost by 10 in the Boston Garden to a team that have they lost at home this year? Maybe they at the beginning of the year, but like you lost on the road to probably the best team in basketball by 10 points. So that's if you're wondering why I'm not kind of losing my shit, that's more or less the reason. I don't think I have anything else. I didn't really talk in depth about specific players, but I'll wait until people bring them up. I mean, briefly, I didn't think it was a good Brunson game. Talked a little bit about Randall. That was a nice game for RJ Barrett. How about that? Let's end on a positive note. That was a nice game for RJ Barrett. I think it's the best RJ Barrett has looked over the course of an entire game, at least on offense, since he came back from the migraines. Hit a couple threes, including it above the break three. That was nice to see. I thought he had some nice drives, a lot of nice stuff in the short mid range. Easily his best game all year from the short mid range, and that's important because he needs to do that stuff to be successful. Some not great defensive moments, couple of not great shots around the rim, but I thought it was a really nice game from RJ. Other than him, Grimes. We talked about Grimes. Good to see Grimes get going. Yeah, that's really all I got. How about Josh Hart with 7 assists? It's pretty nice. Okay. Let's get to and they fucking shot the ball well tonight. 50-40, 74 from the line is not ideal, but let's see what people have to talk about because I'm up for whatever. I said my piece. All right, Drew P feels like we were at a crossroad, clear team ceiling. Yeah, but again, I don't know. I didn't need these 2 games to tell me that this team has a very definitive ceiling. Me personally, but that's me. Thanks, Drew. Guy Huber then. I'm sure it's about to bring some positivity. Something off about this year's team. We were better against these great teams last year. We're getting smacked around this year. It doesn't feel good. Yeah, I mean, again, this is where it gets into the nuance, right? I wrote this. Did I write this? I think I wrote this yesterday. I don't know. It's all running together at this point. By my metric, me personally, Jonathan Macri, I thought their first truly quality win of last year came in the middle of January in game 49 when they beat the Cavs on that great Hartenstein defensive play on Donovan Mitchell at the very end of the game. They had, 26, 27 wins at the time. You go through each one. There were wins against good teams that were missing star players. There were a lot of wins against bad or mediocre teams. They beat the Cavs early on in the season in the infamous game that set the record for NBA turnovers, where that was just very ugly. It took them, 3 months to get what I would call a quality win. And over the course of that time, they got beaten by a lot of good teams. I also think it's worth noting that in the NBA this year, I think there are, in terms of great teams that are capable of doing what that Boston team just did and what the Bucks did to us the other night. I know the Bucks didn't perform as well against the Pacers. I understand that's frustrating. There are the Bucks, there are the Celtics, there are the Nuggets. Honestly, offensively, I don't know that there's another team that has that level of firepower. And we've played those teams 5 times now. I look, I get it's frustrating, but it's, yes, they need to find something. Something does seem a little off. I completely agree with you. I think it's a little unfair to expect them to it's not unfair to expect them to do better, but it's a tough measuring stick. That's But again, I have a certain view of the team. So thanks, Huber. Appreciate you as always. Next up, Rob DeLucia. What's going on, Rob? Sup, KFS fam? I'm going to say it. The Knicks need a new head coach's voice on that bench. That's the answer. Lose to two of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league. Fire the coach. It's time. What are we waiting for? I think the change the squad needs starts there. All love. Okay. Well, I think that's utterly ridiculous. I don't know what else you want me to say about it. I think it's a comment that doesn't warrant serious analysis. Thanks, Rob. Ryan Huang, what's going on, Ryan? First time, long time. Not taking too much stock in 2 away games versus 2 of the top 5 offenses. But for all the IST success, this is a poor incentive for group wins. Hope Quentin Grimes gets confidence. Jalen Brunson, JB interview was awesome. JB interview. I don't know what he's talking about. I should probably know. I'm sure I'll think of it. But yeah, I hope Quentin Grimes gets confidence as well. And as far as the IST, do they need to change the incentive structure? I mean, I proposed something today in the Knicks Film School newsletter that you can't have a playoff tiebreaker based on inclusion into the IST because it's only 4 games, 4 preliminary games. That's too unfair. To base the first playoff tiebreaker off of 4 games. I do think if you held it a little bit later in the season, which I understand could present some scheduling logistics issues, and you maybe played 2 teams in your or every team in your group twice instead of every team in your group once, so that's 8 games. If you get to the IST based on your record in 8 preliminary IST games, IST knockout round, whatever, then could you get away with making inclusion into the IST being one of the final 8 in the IST? Then could you get away with making it the first playoff tiebreaker? I don't think that's nuts. I think that's a nice incentive. So I would start there and see where we go. Thanks, Ryan. Robert Cross. Hello, Robert. Tibbs deserves a fair share of the blame for this loss. Of course. His approach to stretch fives, overhelping on defense, and why would he pull RJ in the 4th? Hashtag 53 wins. I don't think that pulling RJ in the 4th made a bit of difference. The Celtics were firing on all cylinders. I don't even remember when he pulled RJ in the 4th. Like, I didn't even cross my mind until you just brought it up. So that's how much I thought of him being pulling RJ in the 4th. As far as his approach to stretch fives and overhelping on defense, I'll have some plays in Monday's Knicks Film School newsletter where I highlight what happens when you don't pay attention when you do pay attention to the stretch five. There's a play. It was in the 3rd quarter, I think, when someone was rolled unimpeded to the rim and had a dunk with nobody in the vicinity, and Hartenstein was attached to KP because KP had been bombing away. So, like, what was he going to do? Porzingis didn't want to leave. I think it was Brown in the corner. RJ didn't dig off of I forget who the hell he was guarding, and it was a wide open layup because whoever it was got past Jalen Brunson on the screen. Like, and there I could point to a handful of other plays. Like, you have to pick your poison against these teams. You have to try really fucking hard, and you have to be on your cross your T's and dot your I's, and like, it's the only way you're gonna have a prayer against these offenses. You know, I know you Robert, you don't like to accept the fact that the Knicks are a second-class team in the NBA, but that's what a first-class team looks like. They throw stuff at you that if they're hitting on all cylinders, like, honestly, it doesn't really matter what the fuck you do, unless you have a sort of defense that could switch everything 1 through 5, and you don't have a 6'0" point guard, and you don't have a bunch of guards in your lineup who you depend on who could just get bullied by the Jason Tatums and Jaylen Browns and Drew Holidays and Derek Whites of the world like they're fucking ragdolls. It's not a great matchup, So I don't know what to tell you, bud. Thanks. Busy. Credit tips for making a change and it working for both players. There we go. A little praise for the head coach. Yeah, I thought it was great. DiVincenzo and Grimes switching for another. And also, I want to give credit to Quentin Grimes. Before the game, I guess they got a quote from him, and he was like, yeah, I think it's the right move. Does Quentin Grimes believe it's the right move? Of course he doesn't believe it's the right move, but he said he did. I give a lot of credit to a young player for saying the right thing when the microphone's in front of his face. Thanks, Busy. Colin Reardon, what's going on, Colin? Can count on one hand the amount of tough shots the Celtics took tonight. Team needed some oomph. Don't know who or where, but it's just stale. It might get ugly. Again, I don't think it's going to get ugly. I think you're going to see. I mean, look, December's tough. They're going to play. They're going to play the Bucks again a couple times. I don't think they play the Celtics again. I fucking hope they don't play the Celtics again. It's a tough schedule. It's absolutely a tough schedule. But I don't think you can judge what they're going to do against like a normal tough schedule versus what they did in these games. These games are against a different animal. Again, when these teams are playing like this, I will co-sign the thing about the tough shots. Knicks didn't. You try to have your cake and eat it too, and you get neither. And the Knicks were trying to stay in their base scheme to a certain extent and just make it work. And if you don't give, I'm a broken record. If you don't give maximum effort and you don't execute properly, that base scheme is not going to work against this team when this team is on point. And they were on point tonight. Thank you, Colin. Busy with another one. Busy, incredibly generous. Thank you. Now that's out of the way, why did it take for Grimes to be moved to the bench for him to call plays for him? That's what's so frustrating about this coach. Like, everyone on the team isn't talented enough to create their I don't know if there's another comment coming, but I'll start. Oh yeah, their own shots. Sometimes you got to actually do your job and call plays for them. Busy, I'm going to push back a little bit because how did Grimes get going? He fired. When he got the ball, he fired away. Didn't hesitate. He put it up. And he had shots, to his credit. There were a couple of times he put the ball on the floor. A couple of times it went well. I could also think of a couple of times it went pretty poorly. Like a couple of turnovers. I don't know how many turnovers he was actually credited with. I could think of two distinct instances where Grimes tried to, like, quote unquote, make a play and it ended poorly. Yeah, he finished with two turnovers. Like, he's not great at finishing at the rim when there's contact nearby or when there's resistance nearby. I think he got more opportunities to some extent because I do think they made it a point to find him. Like that, I think you could 100% say they made more of a point to find him and get him the opportunity to make looks, but he took advantage of that. I don't know. I'll go back and watch. Like, I don't think they called plays for Grimes tonight. If they did, I'll happily admit that I was wrong. I'm sure maybe there were one or two, but like, I don't think that's it. I think Grimes went off tonight because Grimes was like, if I'm not going out like this, and he made it a point to make himself felt, make himself a presence in this game. That was the bigger thing for me. As an aside, why wouldn't they call plays for Quentin Grimes in the starting lineup? Because you got Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, who are two all-star caliber players, and RJ Barrett, who a lot of people seem to think is an all-star caliber player. And Grimes is very decidedly fourth on the totem pole. When he's alongside just RJ and Quickly and Hart, it's like, okay, well, now your skill set is a little bit more worth tapping into because we're not sacrificing possessions in which we're running it through Brunson or through Randall. That's how I read the situation, at least. It's like, You go down with your best guys. And I agree there's a balance that needs to be achieved. Like you got to, if you're asking a guy to defend his ass off on the other end and guard the other team's best player every night, yeah, you got to make sure he gets some shots and get some possessions, even if it those might not be the best play. If it's going to keep your guy engaged, then do it. It's worth it. I would guess that they envisioned when they planned this team out that getting Grimes a half a dozen good, solid catch and shoot opportunities every game was not going to be a problem, was not going to be something that they needed to scheme for. And what has happened over the last 7 games before tonight was like, oh shit, well, I guess we guessed wrong. And I think tonight showed a possible answer, which is good. Thank you, Busy. Dom the dentist, it was all good just a week ago. Listen, a week from now, who do they play? I don't even know. I know they play the Raptors, and then they play the Jazz, and then what do they head to? Then they head to Phoenix next Friday night. So, listen, they go 3-0 in the next 3 games. This will be a distant memory. Like, it's a good team. They're going to win games. They're going to win games against good teams. I guarantee you the Knicks are going to win good, solid games against good, solid teams. Be fine. Thanks, Dom. Robert Cross, one more time. For the love of God, no more drop coverage against stretch fives. Okay. You know what, Robert? Why don't you devise a defensive game plan that is going to work better with the Knicks personnel? I look forward to your DM with that idea. I have nothing else to say. Exhibition continues. What's going on? Exhibition continues. Thank you for the generous donation. First time, long time. I know he'd come out with some extra something given the circumstances, but Grimes looked more comfortable with the second unit. More free-flowing offense and willing passers allows for rhythm shots versus Julius Randle hand grenades. Yeah, Randle threw another hand grenade tonight that led to a shot clock violation. I would do want to acknowledge Randle had some god-awful offensive possessions tonight. Truly atrocious. But guy's been really good. And he also, by the way, the Celtics also had no answer for him for a lot of this night. And so that's the other reason I kind of don't want to kill him. Brunson did not have it going tonight at all. And the Knicks needed to get offense from somewhere. And again, Randle had some brutal ones, but he also was a battering ram and an effective battering ram for a lot of this game. So I want to keep it measured. Anyway, that's not what your super chat is about. The offense is more free flowing. The offense does have more willing passes. I think you could argue. I mean, just like Josh Hart, you know what the Knicks don't have in their starting five? They don't have a connector. And I don't know that every team in the NBA has a connector in the starting five, or at least not just a connector. But it's always nice when you have a guy who, in addition to doing other stuff, is just I am cool connecting the dots. The Knicks do not have that. They have nobody like that, because God knows Brunson, Randle, and RJ are not connectors, and Grimes isn't a connector. Hart is kind of a connector, so he's not a great passer, but he's a good connector. Hartenstein, one of the best passing bigs in the game, which then leaves you with RJ and Quickly, who part of my misgiving about putting Grimes in the second unit in the first place was I was like, really, are those guys going to be the ones passing him the ball? Tonight they did well enough, let's hope it continues. He was definitely more comfortable. I just think the pressure was off a little bit, because it's what else could happen? You've lost your job. They're not going to demote. They're not going to bench him. They're not going to I saw few people suspecting they might play Deuce McBride over him, or something. That was never going to happen. So, now at this point, it's what's the worst that can happen? So I think he played a little bit free and clear with his mind. Haitian Ferg, what's going on, man? Very rare lackluster effort definitely on defense 2 straight nights. Agree. We did play 2 great teams, but I feel like they're lacking discipline on defense. We look disjointed. That's a great word for it. That's a great word. I texted our text thread earlier tonight, and it was in the beginning of the third quarter, I think. And I was like, I don't think they've had one like purposeful defensive possession tonight where it's like we know exactly what we want to do and like we are on the offensive on defense, right? The Knicks at no point tonight did it feel like they were on the offensive on the defensive end. And again, as you say, Haitian, I want to honor the fact that I called this team a few minutes ago, maybe the best defense in the league. I also think they might be the best offense in the league when Porzingis is out there, especially. I mean, their net rating of their starters is what it is. It's not. It's a real number, even though it looks like a fake number. There's a reason this starting lineup is blowing out everybody, not just the Knicks. They're blowing out everybody. So, it's tough to be on the offensive against that, but still, man, like they were so on their heels, and yeah, it just didn't bring it. Didn't bring it enough. Not tonight. Not against this team playing like this. Thanks, Haitian. As always, always appreciate you, man. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? Forget Cole. I hope someone drops a deuce in Adam Silver's Christmas stocking. There we go. The real villain, Adam Silver. I like it. The scheduling is trash. Almost as maddening as watching your power forward get 6 turnovers and shoot into double teams. Again, he had some rough possessions. It was not his best night. I feel particularly leery killing Randall tonight. Dude's been really, really good for a little while now, and he just had an incredible game. So, Brunson, I honestly, I'll be curious what Benji's grades are when he comes out with them tomorrow or Sunday, whenever he comes out with his grades. I think there's an argument that on balance, Randall was better than Brunson tonight. I thought Brunson was particularly poor on defense. Randall was poor also, but I thought Brunson was particularly poor on defense. And he didn't get anything going on offense. Randall, at least, again, for stretches of this game, was like the best thing the Knicks had going on offense. And for other stretches, he was not. Thanks, Juna. Drazov, I think you changed your picture. At least the Yankees landed Juan Soto. Yes, I understand the Yankees fans are very happy about that. So congratulations to them. Question for KFS fam. Wait, hold on. There was a question. The question for the KFS fam. Best and worst Christmas song? Oh, that's a fantastic question. I'll answer mine now. I don't want to. I think it's a great. We should all answer that. Maybe Andrew can spearhead an effort to get everybody to answer that at various points in time. My favorite Christmas song, I think. Man, I have it's still tough to pick one. The Paul McCartney song, I think it's called "Wonderful Christmas Time." I love that song. But I'm gonna have to go with the Carol of the Bells by Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's the song that when my wife and I at our wedding reception, we because we got married in December, we walked out to that. So it's the coolest song in the world. And worst, my God, there's so many terrible ones. This isn't the worst, but I could go the rest of my life without hearing "Last Christmas" by Wham. Probably it's not the worst, but that's probably what comes to mind. There are some trash Christmas songs that have come out over the last few years. I don't even know what they are because they're so bad. Thanks, Jazov. Vaz Kalo, what's going on, Vaz? RJ's best game since the migraines, agree, and he sat the majority of the fourth quarter. Tibbs' minute distribution is very difficult to fathom sometimes. I think he sticks with his rotations for the most part. I now you're gonna make me look up when RJ actually got subbed out of the game because I'm curious. Because again, full disclosure, when he left, didn't even cross my mind. I thought he was having a nice game. I did not think that whatever he was doing was like, oh my God, how can they take RJ out of the game at this point in time? So RJ went out. I'm looking now. So he entered the game when it was a 10-point game with 3:13 left. He went out, obviously, earlier than that. Why am I not seeing this? It doesn't look like it shows up on the ESPN play-by-play because at 7:59 in the fourth quarter, RJ made a layup to make it 116-106. So he made it a 10-point game. Oh, and then Brunson came in. Okay. So Brunson came in and it was 118-106 because Brown had made the layup to make it a 12-point game. So Brown comes in, or excuse me, Brunson comes in. So it's Brunson, Quickly, Grimes, Hart, and Hartenstein. Yeah, I mean, sure, you could. So who else could you want Brunson back in that game? Who else could you have taken out? My guess is what he was doing, because again, I think Brunson or RJ had his best offensive game of the since the migraines. Did not think he was particularly good on defense. Is that he wanted Brunson with his three best perimeter defenders, and then obviously Hartenstein because Mitch was apparently not playable, in an effort to try to toe the line between defense and offense. That's my guess. Because clearly nothing else was working defensively. So like maybe Grimes, Quickly, and Hart, the three of those guys together in terms of their perimeter defense. Because I mean, in fairness, in response to your comment, just playing a little devil's advocate, 75% of the comments tonight about how trash their defense was. So games getting close in the fourth quarter. Maybe you want your best three perimeter defenders out there at the same time. And again, they did kind of succeed in limiting that. Like they made the Celtics sweat. Like that's the thing. They made the Celtics sweat for a little bit there. For that stretch. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So Brown makes the free throw. When RJ comes into the game at the 7:39 mark, Brown makes the free throw at 7:39. The Celtics did not score again until 4:35 left. So the Celtics went 3 minutes and 20 seconds without scoring a basket. Do you think that maybe it had a little something to do with who was on the floor for the Knicks in terms of perimeter defense? Just throwing that out there. And then White hit a shot and then two free throws and then the next shot. So they scored 4 points over the course of 6 minutes. A Celtics team which was running a fucking layup line for 43 minutes tonight, 42 minutes, 41 minutes, whatever it is, scored 4 points over a 6 minute stretch because the Knicks kind of tightened the screws a little bit on defense. RJ was out of the game. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Haitian Ferg with another one. I could always depend on you, Haitian. New coach talk is such low-hanging fruit. Our roster stayed the same. Well, the better teams got better. What exactly were you all expecting this year? Well, listen. As Andrew Claudio always says, fan is short for fanatic. If it was all rational, it'd be boring and I wouldn't have a job. There you go. Thanks, Haitian. Rowan Senior, what's going on, Rowan? Aren't the best teams in the league assembled to beat defensive schemes like ours? It seems like we always need perfect execution and luck to beat the best. I think that's an absolutely fair comment. What I will push back on a little bit is it's not push back, but what I will point out, the Knicks. Forget the Knicks. No team has the luxury of like building, their perfect roster, right? You got to take opportunities where they come. And what did Leon Rose inherit? He inherited RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. Randle's pretty poor defender most of the time. RJ's been I'll be polite and call him a mediocre defender for parts of his NBA career. And then they got their franchise savior in Jalen Brunson, who is a 6 foot tall point guard with, significant physical limitations. So those three guys are going to play 35 or so minutes a night for you. And they hit on some guys in the draft. And we praise them for that, for hitting on the Emmanuel Quickleys and Quentin Grimes of the world. Quentin Grimes is a 6'4" guard. Emmanuel Quickly is a 6'3" guard. So like they don't really have the personnel to do a switch. And then there's Mitchell Robinson, who's the other guy that they inherited, and who I think from the day that Tibbs took over looked at Mitch, and then they also obviously signed Nerlens Noel and Hartenstein, and like it's not a coincidence that every other center that they've signed has been in the Mitch mold, because he looked at Mitch and said, okay, between him and the backups that we're going to be able to get, I'm going to be able to, through smoke and mirrors, do this just well enough. And to their credit, by large part, they have. You bring up the point that against the best defenses, it doesn't work. I would argue that is the case for 20. I mean, what teams are built? What teams have a defensive scheme that they could employ to counteract the very best offenses in the league? Let's see if I don't think I'm going to get to a second hand. Minnesota, who made a trade that many people, including I'm pretty sure myself, called like the worst trade of the century to get Rudy Gobert. They could do it. Boston, who has just, brilliant team building but they were also gifted a 20-foot head start, whatever you want to say it, with the Nets trade that got them Tatum and got them Brown, and but they've supplemented those guys well. The KP move, Drew Holiday move, Derek White move, brilliant, one after another. But they were operating from an advantage. Okay, I've named two teams. Orlando has shown promise this year. Let's see if it lasts. And then Miami, who has Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. That's all you got to say. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Conversation ends there. Bam Adebayo is the most versatile defender in the NBA. And that's kind of it. Like, what other... trying to think if I'm forgetting any other defenses. It's like, again, you could count them on one hand. So, but again, to your point, there's a reason why every time, and people are sick of me bringing up his name to the point that we make jokes about it now, that it's going to be 2030 and we're going to still be talking about trading this guy. Why does OG Anunoby always come up? Because he is one of the 5 most versatile defenders in the NBA. He could guard centers, he could guard ones. If there's ever a prayer of the Knicks employing a little bit more switching, it's with a revamped roster that probably almost certainly involves a dude like that. But right now, thanks, Ron. It's good. I'm having fun tonight. Drew P. Feels like we were at a crossroads, clear team ceiling. I think this was the first comment of the night. So unless we're done, maybe we're done. Andrew, are we done? No, we're not done. No, this is the second comment. So, Andrew, are we just going to go through all the comments again? I can give new answers to everything. For a little behind the scenes, while Andrew lets me know what's going on. Part of the technical difficulties we had tonight is that Andrew Claudio was not supposed to produce. And my understanding is that he is producing this episode from his phone, which, yeoman's work. Oh, no, it's APJP. He's back. Oh, okay. It was Andrew. Now it's APJP. So see, I don't even know what the hell's going on. All right, here we go. We're back. Jeff, I wonder if this is Jeff Rasmussen. I think it is. I guess I'm an optimist. The best team in the NBA went nuclear, and we had a couple momentum threes to make this close. Plenty of frustrating things, but I got to say I loved our fight, minus Randall, LOL. I don't know. Everybody's killing Randall tonight. Everybody's killing. But it's the bad's always very bad. I've said the same thing 100 times. The bad, it makes you want to pull your hair out. didn't think I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. I didn't think tonight was the performance to kill Randall for, but that's me. I could be wrong. God knows I've been wrong before. Yeah, like their fight. It's cool. Would have loved for, if we go back to when it was 119, 112. I mean, they had, so Hart had a turnover, then Porzingis missed a three. Brunson missed a shot he makes a lot of the time. It's a tough shot, but it's a shot he makes a lot of the time. That would have brought it down to 5. And then after that, White missed a 3, got his own offensive rebound, and then got the layup. And then, so that went back to 9. Quickly missed the 3, and then after that, White got to the line, and felt like that was kind of it. But they had 4 good opportunities there, 4 opportunities there, and they just couldn't capitalize on any of them. So, thanks, Jeff. Busy Grimes and RJ category. Is everyone who plays along our flawed stars set up for failure? Man, that's a loaded question. It's a fair question. You know what's tough, and this is, I think, part of the issue that the Celtics have been dealing with for the last 5 years. Julius Randle is a very good passer for his position. He's not a great passer. Jalen Brunson is a point guard. He's probably a below average passer for a point guard. When your top 2 guys, neither of them is an elite passer, and this is something I've spent so much time thinking about this season in particular as Halliburton ascends into. I mean, I have some thoughts on Halliburton that I don't even want to say out loud because they're aggressive. I'll just say that. And thinking about teams over the last few years, like Boston has never been able to scale the mountain type top, even though they've arguably been, on balance, probably the most talented team in the last 5 years. The Clippers. I mean, when that team was assembled, you would have thought, oh my God, they did what every NBA team wants to do. They paired 2 apex wings. And they have 2 playoff series wins to show for it. And then you look at the teams that are successful. Denver, one of the greatest passers of all time. Jokic. Lakers, keep finding a way. Won a championship, made a conference finals. LeBron James. Dallas had one deep run. Luka Doncic. Phoenix. We'll see what happens. I mean, Booker is elevating himself into that level. Dude's averaging 8+ assists this year. I don't know how you don't call him an elite passer at this point. To say nothing of Durant, who's averaging 6+ assists. But they had Chris Paul, one of the best point guards of all time. So elite passer. And then the Warriors, obviously, all their success. I mean, to pair Steph with Draymond is that was just unfair in terms of just, again, passing and playmaking. The one team that kind of bucked the trend was Milwaukee. And it's funny because who's the team that's arguably had 2 of the most, the biggest, or been the victim of 2 of the biggest 3 or 4 playoff upsets of the last 5 years? The Bucks. And it's what happens every time? The same shit happens. Their passing falls apart and down the stretch of close games. That one year, they did enough, and I think there was some fortuitous circumstances that helped them, get across the finish line. Yeah, obviously Giannis went nuclear. But they were even on the ropes, obviously, against the Nets with KD's foot and the whole thing. But and what did they do this summer? They went out and got one of the greatest point guards of his generation, or maybe ever, in Dame Lillard. So I think you bring up a really salient point, Busy. And to me, my biggest structural, foundational question about this team is exactly that. Is exactly what you just hit on, which is like, man, can you succeed at the highest levels today if you don't have a truly great passer somewhere handling the ball a lot on your team? And I don't know. I don't know. I suppose we'll find out, won't we? Even the one more, the Heat. Heat have had some success, right, over the last few years. Jimmy Butler. You want to talk about elite playmaker on the biggest stage and for his position and with the attention he draws and everything, you know. To say nothing of Bam, who's a good, really good like Lowry. Like they got a lot going for them too. Thanks, Busy. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Great to see Grimes respond positively to the benching and play well on the court. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see. I was very happy for Quentin Grimes. And I hope he continues playing well. Thank you, Robert. Busy with another one. We put up 122 points, but most of that was in the first half when Boston wasn't trying. When they put the clamps down in the second half, our offense regressed. I don't know about not trying in the first half. The Knicks did, like, can we give credit where credit's due? Like, the Knicks scored 20. I want to say they scored 23 points in the third quarter. I'll look it up right now. But yeah, there was a pivotal stretch in the game where Boston was like, okay, we're gonna put the clamps down. Not even. The Knicks scored 30 points in the third quarter. I understand some of that was towards the end of the third when they had already started to get away. I acknowledge that. But, like, man, it's just, I think your larger point is, like, the Knicks are gonna go through stretches in every game where their offense looks not great. And it's like, yeah, okay. Yes. I just did a whole thing on their personnel and why that is. And I think that's part of it. But that's every team. I really do. That's every team. It's really hard to be really good offensively for 4 quarters. Thanks, Busy. Appreciate everything tonight. Robert Cross with another one. I agree 100% with you about the team being off. My opinion, RJ is the X factor. Yes, of course. Has to ascend and be consistent. Hashtag 53 wins. We saw it for 7 games to start the year. He was really good. And he was consistent. And they had some. It was good. It was very helpful. I think the notion that, like, RJ being that player all the time is going to elevate this team to some level that they're not currently at is living in a fantasy world. All due respect, Robert. And I could kid with you about this. We've had this conversation like dozens of times over the years, off and online. Will it help them? Yes. Are they still going to be the basic outline of the team that we see? Yes. In my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. You can throw it back in my face if I am. Parrish, what's going on, Parrish? You can't keep shitting on guys and expect it to not ruin your climate. Reddish, Fournier, Obi, now Grimes benched for speaking up. It zaps the energy. Shitting on guys and expect it to not ruin your climate. I mean, I look at the names you mentioned. I don't think any of those guys carried any weight in the locker room. I think there's a very clear hierarchy in this Knicks team. And there are certain guys whose voices carry weight and who the organization cares about what they think and what they say. And I think there are other guys who they do not as much. And if Jalen Brunson, really what it comes down to is if Jalen Brunson's on board, that's kind of really all that matters. And Julius, but Julius is like in his own, he's on his own wavelength. But like Julius has always bought in enough, you know. I'm sure Julius has gotten frustrated with Tibbs at times, just like Tibbs has gotten frustrated with Julius at times. But I don't know. I think you're fishing for something here. Thanks, Parrish. RJ team. Elite team with stretch 5 just completely blows up our defense. Randall could do no wrong in Tibbs' eyes. It's hurting us. This is who Julius Randall is. It's just now I'm getting a little frustrated because it's like nobody gets a shorter end of the stick. Truly, like this guy just put up one of the greatest games that I've honestly ever seen a Knick play against the Bucks. It's certainly offensively. And like, if like any of the dudes that y'all love, RJ, Quickly, even Brunson, honestly, did what Julius did the other night, if they had one game, that would buy them currency for weeks. Weeks. And like with Julius, it's like, all right, next. He is what he is. He's a guy that spaces out and is not going to give you maximum effort on defense most of the time. And he's going to get a little ball hoggy sometimes, and it's really frustrating. He's also one of the most talented offensive players in the league when he gets going. And it is the Knicks' bed that they are going to continue to lie in probably for a while. Because there ain't no trade coming on the market that makes sense for them to do in which Julius Randle is no longer a Knick. I just wish we could be a little less dismissive. Not saying he was good tonight. Not saying he was good. But like, again, come on. Be fair. Thanks, RJ team. Anthony Sixto. Hot take. Not every loss, even a bad loss, is worth wholesale reconsideration of the team. Anthony, you're barred. You're on. You have to go to detention. How dare you say such a thing? Especially players, coaches in a front office who repeatedly bounced back and kept the arrow pointing up. Yes. Again, I don't know what you're doing. Do you not know how this works? Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate you. CC Kirby, what's going on, CC? First time, long time. Underrated, small wrinkle the last 2 losses. Brunson, 0 of 10 from 3. You're getting the comment of the night award, CC. Never underestimate a team's overall mojo when they see shots going down for teammates. You get the comment of the night because for as much as I and certainly others have tried to talk up Jalen Brunson's 3-point shooting this year as this incredible growth for this player that like is doing things, especially on pull-up threes, that you would have said were unimaginable, 2 years ago, maybe even last year. It also like completely changed how like they were able to like go through games. And he had good looks tonight, just like he had good looks against Milwaukee. They just didn't go down. His 3-point shooting has become vital to their ability to win games. Like teams are still guarding him out there. So like but like how many nights this year did he have like, would he have hit like 3 of those? Imagine if 2 or 3 of those go down. All of a sudden, that game that was a 7-point game in the fourth quarter, well, now all of a sudden it's a 1-point game. Like, it completely changes the game. It is something that we have been spoiled by because we have been able to count on Jalen Brunson making like almost like it feels like he makes every open 3 sometimes. And he didn't do it tonight. He didn't do it against Milwaukee and cost them. I'm really happy you pointed that out. Thank you. Sorry, I've had the sniffles all week. Frank Miranda, what's going on? What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I am not on the fire tips train by any means, but He needs to stop doing his best Sammy the Bull impersonation and whacking his own players during garbage time. Very fair. I'm not going to push back against that one iota. Is he the only coach that would have had Brunson in there and just like wouldn't have thought to take him out? No. A lot of coaches that would have done it. Doesn't make it right. It was a bad. I mean, if Brunson misses a game against Toronto, or God forbid misses more than one game, and they lose, if they then awful. Thanks, Frank. I have zero pushback against that comment. Guy Hooper, them. I'm on the same rowboat as you. I know our ceiling, and I'm okay with it for now. We aren't on the same tier. It's just sometimes I don't see the fight grit. Yeah, and that speaks to everybody's comment tonight that something's not there. What is it? Or who cares what is it? What's going to get it back? What's going to get it back? Some people think firing the coach will get it back. I would push back against that notion. I don't know. I mean, it's sometimes it just takes getting on a roll. I really don't know. I hope though they find it, because that something extra. That's what made them special over the last third of last year. The something extra. And I still think that it's like the thing that's going to turn them from a team that wins 43 or 44 or 45 games into a team that maybe has a chance to win some closer to 50. I think it's going to be that. Thanks, Q Hoover. Chibo. History says you need a superstar for a chip. Who? Well, if I knew that, I don't know. I don't know how to finish that sentence. I don't know. I really don't know. I will say that these guys seem to shake loose pretty regularly. It may not be the guy you want. That's the only thing I'll say. It may not be the guy you want. It may not be the guy you thought you were going to get. But I feel like the flavor of the day is Zion, right? After he put forth a borderline shameful display on national television in I don't know, is that the biggest game in like Pelicans history? The chance to go to the IST finals? Like, no, that's not true. They went to the second round of the playoffs. So, but it was like a massive game, and you have Zion out there looking gassed. Not with like 6 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, with like 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. I apologize. Someone for NOLA.com, I think it was NOLA.com, wrote a great article today on that. It got aggravated. It got aggregated because the reporter, I feel terrible that I forget who it is, noted that according to like sources or whatever, the team has tried to tell Zion many times, like, dude, you got to get your ass in shape and you got to like eat better, and he just won't listen. So, I know there's varying opinions on like, would you trade for Zion? Would you take on a guy that doesn't seem to have any interest in taking his profession seriously? Would you bank on the fact that part of the reason he doesn't take his profession seriously is because of the franchise he's playing for, and because that franchise has seemingly repelled like good basketball player after good basketball player and doesn't seem to know what the fuck they're doing half the time? I don't know, but he's a name. I'd certainly keep an eye on him. Thanks, Jibo. Busy with another one. We got this one already, but thank you again, Busy. And we got this one from Jibo. Brian Fishman, here we go. The front office, since taking over the Knicks, has always made trades at the deadline to bolster the roster. With the depth of this team, I'm under the impression that it is star or bust. So I'm going to lean on reporting of people who are far more have far more insight on this matter than I do. Fred Katz, obviously friend of the pod, Fred Katz, who I believe I'm going to be podcasting with later this weekend, had a very good article earlier today with a decent amount of intel in it, in which he stated something that I think has been obvious to me, at least for a little while, but he just kind of put it out there as firm reporting, which is that the Knicks do not see the star level player becoming available in season, meaning they figure it's probably going to be an off-season thing, which, like, again, NBA history is undefeated. Very rare do you have in-season superstar trades. There are exceptions, Kevin Durant, James Harden, but like those all each time Harden and then the one time Durant got traded in season over the last handful of years, those were really kind of summer trades. Because like all those players like basically went to their franchises and like we want out, and the franchise was like no, and then like eventually they reached a point where it's like, yeah, I guess we have to do this, and they did it. So I don't see a superstar shaking loose in season. That said, it's all. Let me say this: if there is a consolidation trade, meaning 2 rotation players go out, 1 better rotation player comes in, that they feel makes their team better this year, and the consolidation trade involves a young player or young players, rotation players, but they don't feel that it will hamstring their ability to make the superstar trade, I do not think that they will blink an eye. And maybe that's not saying much. But again, I couch that in very specific language. If they think that it will make them better this year, I do not think that they will hesitate to trade multiple young players who are currently part of the rotation, as long as it leaves them enough left in the tank to make the bigger trade down the line. Maybe that trade never comes to the light of day. I don't know. But if such a trade becomes available, I don't think they'll hesitate for 1 second. This team is done like this. We know what their goal is. They're in it to win it. You know who's more the only people more sick of this team not being part of the contender circle than fans is the front office. Well, actually the owner. But thanks, Brian. Busy with another one. We got that one already. Thanks, Busy. Andrew Claudio. Hi, John. First time, long time. A lot to get to. Yes, a lot to get to. I hope I'm doing it. Oh, here we go. 1, fire Tibbs. It's time. Amen to that. Thank you, Andrew. 2, never mind. Rehire Tibbs. It's the holidays. Oh. Season of giving. 3, actually, fuck it. Fire Tibbs. Enough is enough. Andrew likes to have fun with me. God bless him for that. As I look over and the Suns are losing by 14 to the Kings in the fourth quarter, probably fire Frank Vogel. That's what happens in the league. You lose to good teams. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you as always. Kevin Danishevsky, I'm just here to watch John get mad. We'll be fine. Did I get that mad today? I got that mad. A little perturbed. Thank you, Kev. Oh, Andrew with another one. 4, the best Christmas song is Run DMC or McCartney. I'd simply be having a wonderful Christmas time with a new coach. That was good. I like that. That was good. You get credit for that. And then 5, the worst Christmas song is Christmas Shoes. That song has no purpose except to make you sad. It's the Tom Thibodeau of Christmas songs. I was over the line, Andrew. I have no idea what song you're talking about. Christmas shoes. Zero clue. Andrew with one more. Hashtag inhale, hashtag exhale, hashtag repeat, hashtag happy holidays. I like it. I should quote your quarterback. I got 5 letters for you. RELAX. Relax. Drazov, what's going on, Drazov? Everyone is missing that Fournier is our biggest problem. His negative attitude above replacement is bringing down the net vibes over replacement. That's a good comment. I appreciate that, Drazov. I see, now we're getting into the levity portion of the program, I think, which I very much appreciate. Sam Garcia's dad. What's going on, Sam Garcia's dad? How are you? Hope the holidays have met the Garcia family very well. Looks like we could have used 38 from IQ tonight, you think? Bucks and Celtics will be trouble until the superstar arrives. Thanks, KFS, for making these losses bearable. I don't know that I'm making anything more bearable. I'm probably making it less bearable, but I appreciate the sentiment. So quickly tonight had 17 points on 4 of 10 shooting, got to the line 6 times, made all 6. Was 3 of 8 from deep. I haven't talked about him tonight. I don't know. Since the Miami game, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games ago, I've felt, I don't know. I felt, I'm sure there's a game I'm not remembering, because I feel like it's impossible that quickly has gone this long without having a really noteworthy game. I'm just pulling up my stars of the game. He had a really good game against Phoenix. He had a pretty good game against Charlotte. And then Detroit, Toronto, and then Milwaukee, and tonight. Yeah, that's 4 straight games I would say I've been a little underwhelmed by quickly. Now, caveat, he's set the standard at being, like, at times the Knicks' second best player. And by, I think, all of our definition, the best 6-man in the league. So when you set the standard that high, and then you have some games like tonight where you're just okay, it's like, man, why wasn't Quickly there to save our asses? But it just speaks to how often he does save their ass. But it reminds me of the comment earlier about Brunson. Like, man, Brunson 0 for 10 from deep in these 2 games. Like, that matters. Emmanuel Quickly not being there to save the Knicks' ass with a one-man run where it's like he got the Knicks back in it. It matters. They need this shit. It's all a part of what makes them special. Thanks, Sam Garcia's dad. Rob DeLusma, JM, where do I send you guys a Christmas present? LOL. Oh, man, ask Andrew. Our Christmas present is that we get to do this, and that anybody watches me do it. Because, it's not therapy unless there's someone there to listen to you. That's the thing. So, appreciate you guys. Let me do this. That's all. And obviously generous contributions on here. Dr. Butterfingers. Defense could be better, but the shooting luck matters. Even the Wizards beat us shooting like that. We even tried some switching on KP. What are you going to do? There was a switch that they had. They started switching more liberally in the second half, 100%. And Porzingis got him a few times with backing down smaller guys and like got a few middies to go, which, like, for me, you tip your cap. I'd rather that, but I think I was texting Benji about this earlier in the year about, like, what do we think Tibbs' bigger fear is with the switching? The fact that he's going to have a small on Porzingis, or the fact that he's going to have a big out on the perimeter? And I think it may be the latter. I don't like the notion that, like, to him, having your bigs out in space where they're not anywhere in the vicinity, because then it's like, well, you're more likely to give up offensive rebounds, right? Like, we know he values defensive rebounding. So that plays into it too. and then to your larger comment about like shooting luck, like, yeah, like the Knicks' initial defense allowed the Celtics to get comfortable, just like the Bucks. But just like the Bucks game, there was a point in this game where it was like, well, the fuck are you gonna do? It's like when the Celtics are hitting some of the shots that they're hitting, you do have to tip your cap at a certain point, but it doesn't excuse what got them into the mess in the first place. Thanks, Dr. Butterfingers. Busy, you're the man, dude. Thank you. Reason why the last Julius game doesn't buy him any currency is because of a game like tonight. What I was saying at the town hall, knew this was coming. I think it's easier to say that this season because we've played 21 games and you feel like you could count the good Julius games on one hand. I would politely and respectfully encourage everybody to embrace the fact that the dude had all-season ankle surgery. And I don't think it's a coincidence that like his season hasn't been like each game better than the last, but if you zoom out, it's been a pretty steady-ish upward trajectory. And I think the best is yet to come. And I think when this guy is healthy, for as much as there are games like tonight that tempt you to be like, man, forget the 41-point game. It's not worth it. On balance, and here's the key, in comparison to what else they could get for him, you live with it, and dude's a really good player, and I get why he gets under everybody's skin, because he gets under my skin. It's just, I don't know. This is where I fight myself, because I want to honor how he makes you feel when you watch him play these games, but I also want to honor people who are like, man, there's a reason superstar athletes don't want to come to New York. It's because fans are like, what have you done for me lately? Always wanting more. It's never good enough. Like, I do think that there's some validity to all that. And I think Julius Randle is a really good example why. Because he's not the only star that's inconsistent and that doesn't always give it all on defense. A lot of NBA stars out there like that. Few make it as obvious, but there are other stars out there like that. Thanks, Busy. Robert Cross with another one. Right. To follow up Busy's comment, Julius was poor tonight, looked half asleep at times. Hashtag 53 wins. He was poor on defense at times, I thought. Yeah. He was very poor on defense. And he turned the ball over a lot in the third quarter. It was a bad third quarter. It was a bad defensive performance. Guess what? It was a bad defensive performance for the entire team. And he had the best first half of anybody. So it's like, I can't in good conscience single him out and being like, he's the guy that should get shit on tonight. Can't do it. Just can't. Looking at what he had at halftime. 12 points on 7 field goals in the first half. Yeah, it was good. Okay. Thanks, Robert. Ed Paolo, what's going on, Ed? All wing players are playing less than their career minutes. The IQ package with Grimes trade notification is really going to hurt. Well, there's only one guy in the league that I could even fathom them thinking of giving up both of those players in the same trade for. That is realistically maybe going to end up being available at the deadline, and that is the guy that we always talk about, and it's OG Anunoby. Would they make that trade? I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't make it. I have no idea. Maybe we'll find out. Thanks, Ed. Dead Words 604. I agree they seem off. Do you think they need a chip on their shoulder to play better? They had it last year with people tempering expectations after missing out on Mitchell. I don't know where the chip came from last season. I think after that Dallas game, to me, I'll always remember it. Maybe it was bullshit, but I'll always remember Brunson sitting up there at the dais after the game and being like, "You can blame the coach all you want. This is on us." Now, was he right? Was he wrong? Coach made some rotation changes after that game. And then they won 8 in a row, and then they kind of went off and running. I don't know. Maybe they need to hit rock bottom. I really don't know, because that's what happened last year. They hit rock bottom. I remember that. I will never forget how I felt that Saturday night. I remember how I felt during the post game, and I remember how I felt when I wrote my column that I emailed out the next day. I was like, it's done. It is over. Pull the plug. This is garbage. And then they won 8 games in a row. I have no idea. I don't know. It's a good question, though. Thanks, Edwards, for the contribution. Appreciate it. Brian Valderrama, Bill hired you for the Ringer. Bill hired you for Ringer. Text or email. Andy, you quit. I don't know what any of that is supposed to mean. Andy, you quit. Andrew didn't quit. I hope not. If Andrew quit, man, I don't know what's going on. But thank you, Brian. I don't think I interpreted your super chat the right way, but I appreciate you. Ed with another one. Don't think it's possible that front office sees the players not happy with their role and free up usage by trading 2-for-1 to make that happen. Again, I'll lean on Fred's reporting today, which obviously I asked him about after he had the story. And there's very, 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 very much legitimacy to the fact that the front office realizes we got a lot of mouths to feed here. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the spark. They everybody goes into games feeling like I'm going to get the shots I want tonight. Maybe that's the spark. That's as good an answer as any. It still has to be the right trade. And I don't, looking at the landscape, we talked a lot about Caruso, me and Andrew, after the Bucks game. And it's a great freaking idea, because you want to know who's a guy who could give 2 shits how many shots he takes in a given night? Alex Caruso. Does not care. Could not care less. On this team now, you got, Brunson wants his shots. Randall wants his shots. RJ wants his shots. Quickly's trying to get paid. He wants his shots. Grimes is trying to get paid. He wants his shots. Josh Hart just talked about how he wants his shots. Quentin Grimes just talked about how he wants his shots. Who have I not mentioned? The centers and Dante DiVincenzo. A lot of fucking guys. A lot of guys. So, might be nice to get someone in here who doesn't care about shots. I don't know how they're going to do it, though. Thanks, Ed. Busy with another one. Busy, you're the MVP tonight, man. Thank you. John, not just this game. I knew the season was coming. This season was coming. When's the last time he has strung together 2 good seasons? Year 10, sir. Old dogs don't learn. I am a gullible fool. I think this is going to be the year. I think it's coming. I think he's going to have a good year. Truly, I mean that. I think for a couple of reasons. I think there was, I don't know what it is. I don't know that it'll ever be reported. You cannot convince me that there wasn't some significant off-court stuff going on during the Kemba year. That's number 1. 2, I think he was peeved from the start with the Kemba year because they brought in Kemba and asked him to change his game and the whole thing. 3, I think the Brunson effect on him is real. I think Brunson makes his life easier, and I think Brunson is good for his mental and emotional and all that stuff. And 4, I just think he's a better player. I think we're seeing stuff from him. Shout out to friend of the pod, Zach Lowe, who wrote about it in his 10 Things column this morning. where he's like, Randall is like, he just had the best passing stretch of his entire career. I agree with that. He's often making decisions much quicker. I agree with that. They're putting him in a lot of different pick and rolls that they didn't used to put him in. Pick and rolls with Jalen Brunson, pick and rolls with Mitchell Robinson. I agree with all that. Like, there's lots of reasons to be hopeful. I'm very hopeful that Julius Randle is going to continue to have a good year. Drazov with another one. Randall had the second best plus minus of the starters tonight, even with 6 turnovers. It was still bad, but if he gets beat, if he gets the heat, Jalen Brunson does too. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can't talk about Randall anymore because I've so just internalized that we're gonna get games like this, and we're gonna get a handful of plays during games like this where it's like, what the F? You know, the one that stands out for me is the one where he held it for like 15 seconds and then it ended up in a shot clock violation. That was the most egregious offensive possession of the night. Totally agree. Infuriating. I'm done. I'm done beating my head against the wall. This is who he is. This is what he does on occasion. I'm trying to look at the big picture. Trying to look at the full picture. Thank you, Drazov. Andrew Claudio. When did Zach Wilson say to relax? Man, we haven't had a Jets conversation since all this Michigas of the last week. I can't wait to see what happens with you guys.
You want to have it? Let's have this stupid conversation, John.
Wait a minute. I thought Justin was here.
He was. I made it home finally. Shout out to my wife and all of her colleagues. A lovely dinner while the Knicks get their teeth kicked in.
What's
Hi,
funny,
John.
I want to point out.
Whoa, stop yelling at me. You've done enough of that tonight.
I didn't yell tonight.
I'm joking with you.
I want to point out to anybody who may not know. Andrew, he just said he came from a dinner with his lovely wife. Andrew doesn't drink. So if this were me, I'd be coming on here all kinds of liquored up. This is Andrew. This is just Andrew. This is just how he is.
100%. Just my normal me right now. Yes. I probably should with the sports teams that I root for, though.
Listen, man. Wait till you have kids. If you don't start drinking then you are there should be a gospel of Andrew. I mean, I don't know. Your quarterback doesn't want to play quarterback for you, or he does?
Yep. Yeah, too good for the Jets, said Zach Wilson. I'm too good for you. It's like that ex that you've been hoping would leave you, and then when you start to reconsider because you went to a couple bars and were like, all right, you know what, there's nothing out there, and she's like, I've already moved on. I'm dating me at the moment.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but the Seinfeld, don't do the it's not you, it's me. It's definitely me. And fine, it's you. That comes to mind for some reason. On the bright side, at least your head coach isn't trying to inspire the locker room by evoking 9/11 terrorists. So there's that.
Oh my God, that story. Like, for those who don't know, I'm glad you don't, but the Buffalo Bills head coach chose a very specific example as to like rally the troops. That's like, even though that's like a terrible thing to say, rally the troops, because of what happened.
Coach of a team in New York State, by the way.
You mean almost Canada?
Sure. Anyway, all right. Let's
hang out. We got to get 2 more. We'll hang out.
Wonderful. Maybe Zach Wilson will join us since he's playing quarterback for the Jets. Your own comment is up here. This is very funny.
I know. Justin, go ahead next. You're good.
Drazov with another one. I don't know ball. Sure you do. Why would you say that? But would be interested in seeing Hart start here and there. He would facilitate better to RJ Brunson, Randall, who all want the ball.
Not sure if Justin sees the other comment, but I saw Drazov say he meant iHeart.
Oh, okay, got it. I don't think you could demote Mitch. He's having an all defense level campaign, and as we talk about a lot, they've built the team essentially around his skill set. I do think And this happened a lot. I mean, I feel like there were times last year where we looked at the minutes averages over like large swaths of the season, and we were like, "Damn, Mitch and Ihart are playing about the same minutes a game for like." And there were, I am I crazy? There were. It felt like there were months of last season where we're like, Hartenstein's just been better.
I think that was the thing that surprised us so much in the playoffs is we went into that Cavs series with like a month and a half of data of Ihart potentially being the better option in crunch time. And then Mitchell Robinson single-handedly created an advantage that the Cavs were never able to overcome.
Here's the thing, in my humble opinion, because I don't know ball either, but Isaiah Hartenstein's a wonderful backup. I think he's probably the best backup in the league. He could probably start for a few teams. I don't think Hartenstein is going to be a guy that goes out and whatever he does is going to win you a game. Mitchell Robinson has won them games this year and is capable of winning them more games. So, like, I think they are always going, obviously, and it's just not something that's done where it's like, hey, we're going to start this guy tonight or that. I guess some coaches do it. I don't think players like it. I don't think this coach is going to do it. But the nice thing about it is, like, if it's that kind of game, you can always pivot, and that's a nice thing. Is that it?
I agree. I believe there's two more.
Okay. Thanks, Jazzoff. A lot of good stuff from you tonight. I appreciate it. Robert Cross, Legend of GMAC. What is your favorite holiday movie? I know John's is The Grinch. # 53 wins.
My favorite holiday movie is A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Can I say mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Best Christmas movie of all time. Has an argument for top 5 comedy of all time. For me.
I go Die Hard, too. If we're fully stretching out the category of best, I go back to a place with any version of the Christmas Carol, and that might be my favorite. By the way, you've never heard Christmas Shoes?
I have no idea what it is.
Sir, I'd like to buy these shoes for my mother. It's like a little kid buying shoes at a department store because his mom's about to die. You've never heard this song?
I don't really listen to lyrics to songs.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I like the sound.
Okay, you're a instrumental guy. You listen for the beat, not the lyrics. Okay.
If I can't run to it or work out to it or dance to it, it's not for me.
Got it.
I'm a real deep guy. I don't know if you knew that.
Total. I know you very well at this point, John. Yes.
Hush Zoo. This team is really one more piece away. That's all I can think about in these games. I don't know who it is, but this is the level-headed. I don't know who it is, but this is as level-headed as I've been about the Knicks. Maybe that's what you're trying to say. Yeah, I mean, that's. Shout out to our friend of the pod, Fred Katz, who got on the low post today, and it's so cool that someone that we get to talk to basically whatever the fuck we want goes on the biggest basketball podcast there is, like it's nothing. But Fred, like Zach asked Fred in the interview today, like, so what do you think of the next season? And Fred's like, they are what I thought they were. And Zach was actually the one who was like, they've impressed me a little bit more than I thought, which I think is notable. But like, this is what we should have thought they were, I think Hush has one more, so we'll get to that, and I'll conclude this. The Brunson injury is pretty frustrating, though. Let's hope it's not an injury. Let's hope he doesn't miss any time. If he misses time, then I promise you, no one's going to be more pissed at Tom Thibodeau than me. But yeah, they're a good, solid team. They will. I promise you, they will look. There will be times over the course of December that will make us forget these 2 games ever happened, and we will be raring to go for the next matchup against Milwaukee, Boston, whoever it is.
So there's now 2 more, it looks like. Giovanni gets it. I'm reading the regular chat as well as the super chat. So Robert Cross, GMAC, a busy super chat was missed. Scan the room. Busy. I'm going through the Rolodex to make sure. Because I was like half driving home while you were talking, so I'm doing my best to find it. You answered when he said credit Tibbs for making a change. Yes. Okay. Then he said, now that that's over. And then
Yes, I answered that.
blamed Tibbs for everything.
Yes.
And then there's another one where follow up to the town hall convos. Do you think the Knicks should? Okay. Then Grimes and RJ.
Oh, wait, no, maybe I didn't get that. What was that one?
Okay. Follow up to the town hall convos. Do you think the Knicks should be running star-like offense without the guy? It feels like the others' offense suffers by force-feeding lackluster stars. How long before Dante falls into the Grimes and RJ category?
I thought
everyone who played along our flawed stars set up for failure.
No, I think they functioned really. I mean, I hate to always go back to this, but they had this. Like, I don't think you can fake the third best offense in the league last year, which is the first year they had a real point guard. And let me pull it up because I have a funny feeling they're going to be right there. No, they're right behind Denver. So we're one spot behind Denver. We're the 11th best offense in the league this year. We're in between Sacramento and Denver. That's a pretty good place to be. I just you adjust to a good, I believe a good plan is to take the skill sets of your best players and build out from there. And our best players are very gifted isolation basketball players. And they are good enough passers. And everything flows from that. I don't know. We've had this conversation before, Busy, and like I know we were talking about it a little bit, maybe with Indy, with Halliburton, or that came up at some point. But like, you can build an offense that is this whirling dervish, crazy, like all the movement and the passing and the whole thing, when you have Tyrese Halliburton on your team, or where you have Steph Curry and Draymond Green on your team. To try to build that sort of offense with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle as your guys who command attention, because it always comes back to that same question: how are you creating an advantage? And your best players create advantages, and to do that, you need to tap into the strength of your best players. And these guys, their strength is we're gonna command the ball and we're gonna make the other team feel it, and it goes from there. I don't know. I think I don't know what else to say. I really don't.
Even using Indiana as the example, like they lose to the Lakers tomorrow night, they have the same record as the Knicks. Like the results end up being the same as far as wins and losses go.
Yeah.
Even if they have a quote unquote better offense that makes everybody look good.
I mean, they have an incredible offense.
They do. But you know what I'm saying though? Like, if the whole point we're going to with results is like, well, look at Indiana's offense. Great, they have the same number of wins as the Knicks.
Well, but they are. He is special.
He is
special.
The fact he's going full games without turnovers while putting up this much usage is pretty insane.
I mean, he made an over the back pass in the game last night on a drive where who was doing the game? There's Doris and Mike and Reggie, right?
Yes.
I think Doris commented it was like she couldn't even be that over the top about this pass that in any other game with any other team and any other player would be that's the pass of the game, because it was like there were 5 better passes like it already in the night, and it's like that's what you're getting from this guy who also is just stepping back and hitting from 30 feet, and because he could do that, it allows him to penetrate just enough, and it's hits all the quadrants. It's an incredible player, special player. I'm sure everybody watching this is so enjoying me waxing poetic about Tyrese fucking Halliburton.
If you'd like to hear John wax even more poetic about Tyrese Halliburton, check out the latest KFS Patreon podcast, in which John listed his top 15 point guards in the NBA at the moment. That is available now. I think we're done, by the way.
So okay. All right. Well, this was great. Thanks everybody. Sorry. It was a tough week. This was not a fun week to be a Knicks fan.
It wasn't. Can I jump in? It's not just been a tough week for Knicks fans. It's also been a tough week for John Macri and the Macri household. He's never going to say it, but he deserves all of the flowers that you throw on him so uncomfortably. Just at John Macri on Twitter and say, thank you, John, for staying up late with us after the Knicks got their teeth kicked in multiple playoff games, quote unquote, this week. So thank you, John. Let's get that. Thank you, Mac. There you go. Thank you, Macri. I think I worked out the final hashtag. Thank you, Macri. Hashtag thank you, Macri is what we're going with throughout the weekend. You can even throw a hashtag fire Tibbs if you want to, but hashtag fire Tibbs, hashtag thank you, Macri.
It's fantastic. I turned to my right to see what's on if there's a game that I could watch and not hear what you're saying. And I see Emerald Lagasse cooking some nonsense because I guess this is the infomercial that plays when NBA games are over. It's an Emerald Lagasse for some, I don't know what he's selling.
I'm gonna be full transparent here. I thought he died a while ago. So
is he dead?
I thought he did, but
I mean, let me tell you, if he's eating the stuff that he's cooking, then he probably should be because
easy there.
Jesus. It's a cookie. It's a giant cookie ice cream sandwich. This is what's up. I don't even know what game I had on that this infomercial came after. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Thanks, APJP. Thanks, Andrew Claudio. And thanks, everybody, for watching, tuning in the whole thing. We will see you with more fun and games, as always. Peace out.